There is no middle ground. Either you're actively being beneficial or you're malevolent by intention or passivity. If more of our men don't step up to become uh, beneficial for our community, things will continue to crumble for us and our community. What's up, Black man? I'm Jamal Calpin, and welcome to the Beneficial Black Man channel, where we focus on overcoming gray mediocrity to become beneficial for our community by discussing faith, creativity, personal development, and mental and emotional health management. So, I'm sure you've heard of a version of the law of entropy or the second law of thermodynamics. And very often it's summed up as everything in life is tending towards chaos or disorder. The same thing applies to our community. The same thing applies to our internal self. If we aren't actively doing something to put things in order, to make things better or beneficial, it's going to fall apart. It's going to tend to disorder. It's going to lead to chaos. And I believe the same thing happens within our community, and the same thing has happened within our community. And a big part of that is not men, but being beneficial. Big part of that is men not stepping up and being who they were called and designed to be by the Most High. And as I talk about on this channel, we have to become beneficial men. We are all called and designed to benefit the world around us. We're all called to make an impact, to leave a mark, to live for glory and for good. And so I'm sure you've heard that before on the channel, and you're probably wondering, well, how do I do that? How do I become a beneficial Black man? Well, that's what I want to share with you today. There are three things I believe that we can focus on and that we can commit to and that we can apply in our lives so that we can become beneficial. They are: first, to make something for yourself; second, make something of yourself; and third, make something for glory and for good. And ultimately, why is this so important? If we don't show up, if we don't make a commitment to be better for ourselves and for those around us, things are going to get worse. And we're already seeing it, whether it's violence in our community, disruption in bad relationships, or children who are pretty much left on their own because they don't have good role models and good influences to help them strive for something better in their lives. Maybe you've experienced that in your own life. Say your father wasn't there for you, or whoever, male role model wasn't supposed to be in your life wasn't there. And you've had to try to figure things out on your own. And it's impacted you. It's impacted you in your work. It's impacted you in your own personal, mental, and emotional well-being. It's impacted you in your relationships. We have to address those things, and we have to be active in making sure that things get better. And that requires us to be beneficial. And so the first way we do that is we need to make something for ourselves. We need all of these things to move in alignment with our call as beneficial Black men. Again, I believe all men, all Black men, are called to be beneficial. The thing is, like we see in the scriptures, like in the Gospels, many are called, but few are chosen. And I think that applies to us. Sometimes we just don't want to do the work. We don't want to do the work to actually get better, but we have to. We need to, because either we're pushing in the positive and getting better, or we're making decisions to push things backwards or make things worse. And even if you claim to be a good guy and you kind of avoid all of the bad stuff, if you're not actually actively pushing the goalposts or pushing things uphill and getting better, you're dragging everybody else down. Even you, if you're just not doing anything constructive in your life, you're remaining stagnant. And that's not helping. That's gray mediocrity. That's not improvement. That's not vibrant excellence. That's not going to a better place. And so I'm challenging you and encouraging you, yeah, pursue becoming a beneficial Black man. And again, like I said, these are three ways that we can do that. First one, make something for yourself. Use creativity to get to a healthier place mentally and emotionally. Creating, making anything is part of our design. If you're not making something, you're moving out of alignment. And so this isn't limited to only um, creative arts, so like painting or music or anything like that. Building a business, actually building things. Like if you're really good with your hands, you can be fixing cars or building a shed or anything, actually creating and producing things. That's part of our design as men. Manifesting ideas, that's creating, that's producing. And real quick, I wanted to give examples of Black men that I know in my life who do creative things. Pull that up. So first, I wanted to give a shout out to my my brother Julian Wilson. We're gonna play some of his music here, him making some art.
How many years will it take for these tears to dry? Oh my Lord, please don't pass me by. Where can I run when I'm running is out of time? These are the moments that I'm with you. Under the pressure, I'll see through. Live out the wonder, way past the borderline. Adventurous far as the eye can see. Try not to miss you to destiny. Live out the wonder, way past the borderline. How many
That's Julian Wilson. Go check him out on his Instagram page. Next up, shout out to Just Indecisive. He's a creative, but one of the things that I really like and appreciate about what he does is he dances, and his dancing is phenomenal. So let's just look at that.
You can go again. Go far behind. Say don't be late. This nation heaven. Stay alive. Now you and me. We're going to have fun. Say, lights off. Excalibur. Drop that bar. What do you mean? Give it take. Going home. Side zone. Check out it. Live alone. Leather legs. Get in play. What do you get? Say, back it. Zoom room. Cosmic zoom. That's a jam. Sonic boom.
That is another example of creative making something for yourself. And last, give another shout out or give a shout out to my old school buddy, Dom Ravron, and his art.
5 self-portraits in 5 different ways. Whoa! It's a doozy right there. Stay creative out there wherever you are. Keep at it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. 5.
You have it. Those are just some examples of black men being creative. And you can and should be creative as well. And again, it doesn't have to be music, it doesn't have to be dancing, it doesn't have to be art, but actually creating and producing things. All of that creativity is in us. And part of us becoming beneficial is exercising that muscle to create things and be more in alignment with our design. Next up, make something of yourself. Educate yourself and do the work to improve in the areas we struggle in as Black men so that we can become beneficial assets to our spouses, our families, our community, and ultimately the world. So yeah, I would sum this up as personal development. You need to make something of yourself, whether that's going to school, whether that's going to counseling, whether that's going to the gym. We are like lumps of clay, and we have to mold and shape ourselves into our best selves. And I think a big way of doing that is working on our mental and emotional well-being. There's a lot in us that needs to be grown and developed and shaped. And sadly, I think a lot in our community, especially when it comes to emotional intelligence, that has been an area of neglect in our lives. A lot of times it's because our fathers or our grandfathers or the men in our lives haven't had that. But the time is now for us to do that work to make something of ourselves so that we can become our best selves and become beneficial. And I want to give 3 examples of resources that will be helpful in doing that. First up, the YouTube channel and podcast, Express Yourself Black Man. This is a great resource in regards to mental health. Definitely go and check it out. It's a YouTube channel and has a podcast, and it also has a service where you can join and they'll send you affirmations and give you other resources like that. Definitely go check out Express Yourself Black Man. Next up, Professor Odie Presents The Antidote. This is another podcast and YouTube channel, but he focuses on helping men to grow on their emotional intelligence. And so he shares a lot of thoughts and ideas and topics and resources that helps us to grow, to helps us to think differently about ourselves and about the world around us. So I would definitely recommend Professor Odie Presents The Antidote. And lastly, Men to Heal. Men to Heal is another great resource, especially for mental health and emotional intelligence and emotional well-being. He has a book, he has a podcast, he has a website, he has a lot of tons of great resources. So definitely go check them out. Express Yourself Black Man, Professor Odie Presents, and Men to Heal. Along with making something for yourself, making something of yourself, lastly, we need to make something for glory and for good. And what do I mean by that is we need to put our hands to the plow and do the work God has placed in our hearts to do for his glory and for the benefit of others. God has placed some dreams inside of you. He's placed a work in you and a desire to go out and be great, not only for yourself, but for something bigger than you, for your community, for your family, for legacy. You have ideas in you. You're called for greatness, quoting Les Brown. And maybe because of struggles in your life or oppositions, you've kind of neglected and ignored those things. Don't neglect them. Pull those dreams out, pull those desires out, pull those plans and those ideas out, dust them off, and get to work because the world needs you. The world needs you, needs your story, needs your idea, it needs you to be the best you that you can be. And I want to show 2 examples of Black men doing this kind of work. How I would classify it as for glory and for good, being beneficial. The first one is Ben Henry, or Belief in Fatherhood. He has a YouTube channel, but he also has a website and a lot of other resources dedicated to helping men and fatherhood. If I just go, let's go check out his mission statement. But this is his website. Mission: family is the most important unit on earth. The disconnection of family creates despair. We guide men into fatherhood, equipping them to love and lead their family into eternity. So, Belief in Fatherhood, YouTube channel, podcast, a lot of stuff. But a Black man dedicated to representing what it means to be an active and present father in the life of his children. More specifically, a Black man representing what it means to be a Black father in the life of his children. Another example of a man living for glory and for good, in my opinion, is Mr. Jason Wilson. Maybe you have seen examples or seen him or heard about him. He has a documentary featuring uh, his organization called the Cave of Adullam on ESPN TV or ESPN Plus, and it's a documentary about the work that he's doing to help young boys to mature and develop. Here's some examples of what they do. So, historically, the Cave of Adullam Transformation Training Academy, the Kata, is a place where David spent the majority of his time hiding from King Saul. The Bible says that 400 men gathered unto David who were distressed, in debt, and discontented, and David became their leader. When these men finally exited the Cave of Adullam, they were referred to as David's mighty men of valor, and together they fought to establish and stabilize Israel. Today, the Cave of Adullam is a male transformational training academy of the Union, a nonprofit organization in Detroit, Michigan. Boys and young men who are emotionally distressed, mentally discontented, and spiritually in debt gather here to be taught, trained, and transformed into comprehensive men of the Most High. This is just some results from the work that he's doing. 100% of the Kata recruits who were bullied are no longer victims of bullying. 56% of parents reported decrease in school suspensions and an increase in making more positive decisions. 78% of our recruits improved their grade point average in 16 weeks without academic tutoring. 98% of our parents report their sons have grown spiritually and become more stable emotionally since becoming a Kata recruit. So I've referenced Jason Wilson a lot on my channel because I think the work that he's doing in his books, the talks that he has, and even the work that he's doing with the Cave of Adullam is so influential and impactful. And his ultimate goal is to help us as men become comprehensive men. I'm going to read this little blurb real quick. Jason equips men with mental and spiritual weapons needed to wage and win your inner war. He helps men live beyond the limitations of their mind and finally experience the life they have always longed for. He knows they can break through what they've been through from personal experience. Specifically, he shows men how to master your emotions rather than be ruled by them, win internal battles before they become external wars, reject the world's definition of masculinity and embrace comprehensive manhood, communicate more effectively with the people in your life, release trauma from your past so you can live fully to your potential in the present. So he has tons and tons of great resources, 2 books, podcasts, all this information. But behind it is this notion of, again, in my opinion, for glory and for good. He's doing this work for a greater cause, something bigger than himself, and for the good and the benefit of other people. And along with the other 2 things that I mentioned, making something for yourself, having this creative outlet so that you are operating in the design God gave you creatively, producing things. Second, making something of yourself, doing the work internally so that you can be your best self. And then focus on making something for glory and for good helps you to become a beneficial Black man. We all need to do this. This is something that I'm striving to do, and I would challenge you to do the same, Black man. Make sure that you're making something for yourself, making something of yourself, and committing to making something for glory and for good. Black man, you're called for more than mediocre living. You're here for a purpose, to live for glory and for the good of others. Let's do the work and keep choosing to become beneficial for our community. Protect your mental, make time for an emotional release valve, and keep striving to become beneficial. I believe in you. Go make something for yourself, of yourself, and for glory and for good. Peace.